Member of Mvita.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to go not necessarily against the grain. My colleagues are requesting me in the background to speak in Swahili. But Mr. Speaker, I think for the right ears to hear me, it is important that they're also going to understand what it is that I'm saying. Mr. Speaker, Article 259 of the Constitution of Kenya actually stipulates that the Constitution should be interpreted in a manner that contributes to good governance. Now, when you look at the way the CJ has interpreted this particular advisory to the President, which, by the way, Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether it is in a demeaning manner, but I'm informed that the President was sent such a heavy level of communication via email. The President actually was sent for this communication via email, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the wording in Article 261, 7 and 8 uses the word shall. And I want to indulge my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, that the same words regarding shall, when you come to Article 159, Mr. Speaker, of the Constitution, in exercising judicial authority, the courts, the tribunals shall be guided by the following principles. Justice shall be done to all irrespective of status. And the question that beckons, has justice been done to all, despite the Constitution of Kenya saying that it shall? Justice shall not be delayed. How many of us here have constituents who have had cases that have been going on for years on end? The same Constitution talks justice shall be administered without undue regard to procedural technicalities, and the purpose and principles of this Constitution shall be protected and promoted. Mr. Speaker, in the same articles that talk about the judiciary, the purpose and principles of this Constitution shall be protected and promoted. It beckons to ask the Chief Justice of this country whether that has been achieved. The first article of this Constitution talks about the sovereignty of this country, where that sovereign power has been delegated to duly elected representatives. And when we try and enforce something, Mr. Speaker, then we are negating the same Constitution that we have taken an oath to uphold. And what surprises me, Mr. Speaker, is that the fifth schedule of this Constitution does not talk about just Parliament enacting laws regarding 2/3, or rather 1/3. Mr. Speaker, the fifth schedule talks about 50 laws that Parliament is to enact. 50, not 1, 50. And these as well, Mr. Speaker, there are people who have been able to take Parliament to court on these matters. Mr. Speaker, Article 27, 6 and 8, which talks about the equality and freedom from discrimination, is so clear. It states that the operative word here that is being used is the state shall ensure, not Parliament, the state. And we are now in a situation where the Constitution of this country is being read just one-sided. Mr. Speaker, I will not take much time, but I want to congratulate the Parliamentary Service Commission for the action that you have been able to take using your wisdom, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether the Chief Justice is not aware that Article 25C of the Constitution of Kenya gives anyone, and that be an institution or an individual, a right to a fair trial and hearing. So the question is, was this House given that opportunity? Mr. Speaker, I want us to go back again. That when we talk about shall, and there's a time lapse of 5 years, where does it say that those 5 years shall be 5 years from commencing which particular parliament? Where does it say, Mr. Speaker, that when we are now talking about enacting, are we looking at that period from which a bill is published and we reached its pinnacle? Are we looking at 5 more parliaments to be able to come? And Mr. Speaker, previously as well, the Supreme Courts, and if with your permission, Mr. Speaker, the Supreme Court held in a majority opinion that the application of the gender rule should be progressive. This is the opinion of the Supreme Court, which was then by his predecessor, the predecessor of the current Chief Justice. So I wish to urge my colleagues, this is not an issue of just part of gender rule. When this is the one that is going to be used, there are other laws that are going to be used to tackle us. And we need to speak with one voice. We need to speak with one understanding that the principles of the Constitution are that the Constitution should be interpreted in a manner that contribute to good governance. Holding a massive election for all constituency in this country at this time and moment, is that good governance? Holding an election at this time and moment, Mr. Speaker, who is going to be able to pay for the same? Holding a mass election at a time when we all know that this country is preparing for a referendum through the BBI. And I want to tell and ask and plead with the naysayers who are against constitutional change in this country. We as Parliament need to ensure that every single thing that has affected this House are going to be enacted and changed using the BBI initiative that is upcoming and shall be before the next elections, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with this, I beg to urge all my colleagues, this is not an issue of who was here. And I remember being with my sister Gladys here, sharing red roses, Mr. Speaker, at a time when we were trying to ensure that the 2/3 bill, but it is true equally, there are members who are not here. And as much as the men will only be seeing the women, because this is something that was touching on the 1/3 gender rule, I want to just remind my colleagues that when a man speaks up and speaks on behalf of a woman, it does not show his weakness. When a man speaks up and ensures that a woman's rights are defended, that shows the true quality of a man. And our job is not to put these women down. Our job is to ensure that we lift them up. Where they are wrong, we rectify each other. As much as where we are the ones who are to err, they can be able to rectify us. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.